Pray for a swift death.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be doing another video where I talk about a character's story and that character's presence in the culture. Before I dive too deep into it, I've been seeing some comments lately and I want to quickly address it. First off, when I do these videos, I like to troll. I like to add in some flair to it just to keep you guys on your toes. But then the other side, in these videos where I talk about story and I'm talking about lore and I'm talking about the culture, it's also me trying to learn more about it. I've been a Yoshimitsu main for like 11 years, 12 years, and that's all I really focused on. And this series where I cover other characters and I talk about their story and tweets and news articles about these characters, it's me trying to learn more about other characters and also Tekken. So when people say comments like this, like, dude, you don't know much about the lore, do you? Another comment says, you got a lot to learn if you don't know some of these basic things in the story. Here's the thing. These comments don't really bother me because that is the whole reason I started this series of covering other characters. One, because I thought it would be interesting to talk about all these different characters. And two, I wanted to learn more about Tekken. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm not Main Man Sweet who knows everything about every character no. The foundation of this is learning and seeing what the stories are doing right and also seeing what they're doing wrong. And that's kind of just like the intro. Let's get into this video.
You are what you plan. No, don't hurt me. Oh well, time to die.
The first two things that I want to talk about in reference to Josie is one, there's a tweet from 2015 about Josie from Harada. Why does Josie cry when she wins? This arguably is the biggest thing about the character. People either like the fact that she cries or people don't like it. Next, I talked about this already, but there is a Tekken theory, a Soul Calibur theory, whatever you want to call it, that Josie and Talman are related. I did a full video already talking about, is Tekken and Soul Calibur in the same universe? Are some of these characters connected? So if you guys want to hear more about it, go watch that video. But I thought I should just mention it because this is a part of Josie's story. It could potentially be made canon. But this is the big one. This is the big one. And I think this is crazy. When I read you guys this, you guys are going to be like, wow. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to go through some of the trivia, and then there's a news article in here that is very impactful. This news article is I think not only it's going to send shockwaves, but I think it already has. I think this already has affected the way that Tekken develop characters. This is something Harada has been saying, and I never knew why he was saying it. I just assumed because, politics and how, kind of offended by everything people get. But now I'm starting to realize, once I seen this news article, that those things he was saying you'll see what I'm talking about. The final thing we'll talk about is the story. But let's start with the trivia. It says, her name is inspired by the Filipino national hero, Josie Rizaza. Two things. One, I didn't really realize that Josie was Filipino. And two, her name is kind of inspired by a real Filipino national hero. And I want you guys to remember that because the news article is directly tied to this. Another one of her trivias that I thought was worth mentioning. Josie speaks English with a local Filipino accent instead of her native tongue. This is kind of interesting too. Usually when a character is, let's say, Brazilian or whatever, they speak that language. But Josie, she is Filipino, but she still speaks English, but with an accent.
You came after me so you could give me this?
The next thing that I want to mention from her trivia says, way back when Tekken 7 was in development, 4 characters leak: Jin, Devil Jin, Gigas, and Josie. That is crazy. As we're getting closer to Tekken 8, I wonder if we'll see the same thing start to happen. I wonder if they'll show Devil Jin, and then they'll show a trailer for Kazuya, and then Yoshimitsu, because that's kind of what they did for Tekken 7. They didn't just give us the whole game at once. They really gave us, oh, here's 3 characters, here's another 2 characters, here's another character, and then eventually it filled in that whole 36 character roster, and then it was like, okay, here's the game on console. I don't know if they'll do that same thing, but I think that would be really cool from a content creation aspect, because we will be able to highlight individual characters instead of focusing on the whole roster, right? But now let's talk about this news article. I've been hyping it up the whole video. Let's talk about it. It's from Kotaku, and it says why a Tekken character is being called a phony.
Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony! That's right, a phony lives here! A big fat phony!
When I seen this, I was like, hold up. Because this news article popped up when I typed up Josie. So I obviously knew it was about her, but this is not something that I ever was familiar to. I never seen anyone calling this character a
big fat phony
before this moment. It says Josie, the recently revealed character, is Tekken's first Filipino character. For some, she's not Filipino enough, or rather Filipino at all. This is a complaint that Lars gets, but it's not to the same extent. People say the only thing that is Swedish about Lars is the name. Nothing else is Swedish about him. And it kind of looks like people feel the same way about Josie. We'll see more as I read. It says, Josie Raza is named after one of the country's most important national heroes, Jose Raza. Something Tekken series producer Harada confirmed. This kind of made me think back to Lita. Back when that character first came out, I did a video where I was talking about the real world significance of that name. Sobieski, that is a very important last name in Poland history. I did a whole video talking about how there's kings, there's queens, there's wars, there's so much around that name. And then when you talk about Lita is also a very, very important name in Poland history. And you can see they tried to do the same thing with Josie, but it just didn't work. It just wasn't accepted the same way. And this is why I think Harada, when he was doing promotion for Lita, he was saying, we have to be very careful with to not upset people. We have to make these characters in a way to where they're accepted by the country the character's from. And I think what happened to Josie is the exact reason why he was saying that. The part that I want to read next says, the problem with Josie Raza, the character is too obvious. It doesn't have any trace of Filipino-ness, neither in her physical attributes nor in her outfit. If her fighting style is purportedly Ekshirma, where is Archon Styx? So Filipino-inspired name is simply a token. Wow, okay, so this is kind of what I was saying. The fighting style is what they're kind of taking issue with. I don't know what the Archon Styx are. Maybe I can find a quick video or a quick picture or something like that. This is where it gets really crazy. It's hard for us to prevent other countries from making characters like this because Philippines is very popular around the world. The government is considering looking into the matter to correct incorrect impressions Josie gives. Maybe it can do something about those deja vu attacks too. If reading this, you would think Josie is like one of the worst characters. Like, I know the Tekken scene, they do not like that she replaced Bruce, and they do not like the crying. Then you have non-Tekken people. You have the Filipino government, the NCAA. They don't feel like the character is a true representation of their culture. And from that quote, it sounds like the person, if they could, they would have stopped this character from even being created. Reading this, I think Josie won't be in the game. I think they're gonna get her out of there, and I think this is the main reason they introduced Fakram. They want that Muay Thai stance to be there. So they're like, hey, Josie is too controversial. No one likes her. The Tekken community hates her. And then also the own Filipino country hates her. So we're going to get rid of her. Let's introduce Fakram. This will be the Muay Thai character going forward. If the community really wants us to bring back Bruce, we could do that in DLC. If I was Harada, that's what I would do. Talking about the story now. Because story, from what I hear from the community, is really important. Story dictates who shows up and who doesn't. It says for Tekken 7, having been a big crybaby since she was very young, her parents, who were big fans of martial arts, insisted she train martial arts. Despite her reluctant at it at first and accustomed to training kickboxing to live up to her parents' expectations, although it hasn't cured her from being a big crybaby. Something that I do want to say briefly, it looks like these new female characters that was introduced into Tekken 7, they all have a gimmick. Josie is the crybaby. Katarina is the potty mouth, right? She swears and she curses, even though she doesn't in the game. In the lore, in the story, she does. I haven't talked about Lucky Chloe's story yet, but I wonder what's her gimmick, what's her stand out trait that's supposed to make her different. Potty mouth, crybaby, what's next? Making a living being a kickboxer and a model, she was on the track to helping the household until a large typhoon in the country ravaged her home and creating widespread damage. To offer aid relief to the ravaged country, the Tekken force from the Mishima Zaibatsu came to help out those affected, and Josie was inspired to become a Tekken force member. This is kind of interesting. We usually see the Mishima Zaibatsu causing harm, causing wars, destroying people, right? They bombed a church and killed Miguel's sister for seemingly no reason. For a country to get hit by a typhoon and they show up there like they're Elon Musk handing out Teslas, that is like, I think that's really cool because it shows a different side to the Mishima Zaibatsu that we haven't really seen. We never seen them helping. We always seen them hurting. So I think this is really cool. After that, she set out to join the Tekken Force by taking their employment examination. One thing too, this would also show why some people support them. This would show why some people follow them. If someone was just evil and all they did was evil, it would be kind of hard to believe that people like Lars, that people like Zoe, that people like Josie, and I think Lucky Chloe is also some way tied in. I'm not too sure how much. We'll get to her story in a little bit, but you can see how some people would fall in line with them because they're not all evil. So I think that's really important that they add moments like this in there, right? But that's pretty much it for her canonical story. Everything we have left is from the character episode prologue and the ending. I'll read both of them. Josie tried her best to support her family by balancing two jobs, one as a model and one as a professional kickboxer. That kind of conflicts. You're a model, but what if you get punched in the face and your face is swollen? Then your modeling career is kind of ruined. One day while she was out running her usual training course along the mountains, she was suddenly confronted by an enormous, hairy creature. Josie screamed, then fled, half in tears. But the creature remained hot on her heels. Realizing she had little chance of escape, Josie abruptly came to a halt, then turned trembling to face her feral foe. Now, The hairy monster is Kuma. Now the thing about Kuma, you have Paul Phoenix, who is one of the strongest characters in the series on the planet. He is powerful. He fought Kuma for 3 hours, and he also fought Kazuya to a draw. Everyone uses Kuma's rivalry with Paul Phoenix to say that he's also powerful. If you're going to fight Paul Phoenix for 3 hours, you better be powerful. Now, you have to talk about Josie. I don't know if she wins or loses this fight, but if she does, you have to wonder, does that put her on the same power level as Paul Phoenix? This is why I did the video. I did a video like a week ago, where I was talking about, are some of these new characters going to be just as strong as Paul Phoenix? I know a lot of people were like, no, that's stupid. Paul Phoenix is, he's the best. Why would anyone be better than him? And my point is that Paul Phoenix is just a human. He's just a person. Same with Heihachi. He's just a human. He's just a person. There's no devil gene involved in them. So you would have to imagine that other humans can reach their same power level. I'm not saying Josie or Lita will be stronger or should be stronger. I'm just saying they may. If Josie wins this fight against Kuma, I don't know the ending, but is she just as powerful or on the same power level as Paul Phoenix? This is exactly why I made that video. In the ending description, I do not know if this is canon, but if it is, it's going to change a lot. But the ending says Josie finally defeats Kuma. As she cries in relief to her surprise, Kuma barely wakes up as he only returns her earrings back, which Josie noticed her earring was missing during the fight. Josie thanked the bear for retrieving it, but then Kuma faints and Josie tries to wake him up.
Are you okay? Stay with me!
In Kuma's ending, she finally awakened after being defeated by Kuma, which she screams in terror. She thinks he's going to eat her, but Kuma replies that he was not going to eat her by roaring, which causes Josie to faint. Kuma tries to wake her up and realizes that she failed to enlist into Tekken Force despite her fighting skills. So maybe Kuma's ending is the more canonical one, because it says here, the second part there where they're talking about the Tekken Force, that is missing from her ending. So it seems like her ending, just from comparing how much information we're given, I think her ending where she wins is not canon, and Kuma's ending where he wins is canon. So I want to read this second sentence again. Kuma tries to wake her up and realized that she had failed to enlist into the Tekken Force despite her fighting skills. This is kind of an odd sentence here. Does Kuma realize or does she realize? That's pretty much it for her story. That's everything that I was able to find. There is a lot of interesting things in here. First, you have the Filipino government not liking the character. They basically said if they were able, they would stop this character from being created. That's one thing. That's going to change and already has changed the way they did characters, from that point on. Fakaram, Leroy, Lita, all incredibly different and incredibly successful characters. And sometimes it takes a little bit of failure. It takes a little bit of hardship to adapt. That's why I have no problem with being wrong or doing something wrong, because making a mistake means you can learn from it. The second part is how powerful is Josie? I think she lost to Kuma, but it's a matter of how badly. Did she get one shot or was it a close fight? But I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about Josie's story and also the political aspect of it. But I just thought this would be an interesting character to cover, and it definitely turned out to be. The next character that I possibly will do either will be Claudio, Lucky Chloe, or whatever you guys suggest in the comments. Those are the 3 that I'm thinking about. Claudio, Lucky Chloe, or whatever the comments suggest. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this and found it informational. I really tried to go above and beyond to explain everything, And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.